Hello and welcome to the Sun Times Online Desimartini. My name is Sandeep, and right now I have with me one of the most prolific directors of the Bollywood industry, Vikram Bhatt. Hello, sir.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you.
So my first question to you is, very few filmmakers in the industry have actually delved deeper into the horror space. What is your take, or what is your, the entire idea behind making films that are based on the genre?
Every filmmaker has a fascination for one genre more than every other genre.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, like comedy more, or like romance more, emotions more.
Mm-hmm.
I like the darker side of life more. I wouldn't say horror.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the darker side is more interesting, which is why I also make thrillers.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that all people are two people.
Absolutely.
And there is a side that we show to everyone. And there's a side that's very private. A side that we probably don't even share with our closest people.
Absolutely.
And I like to make films on that side.
Past years, which had this horror tag, we had the Ramsay Brothers horror films for that matter. Has there ever been a scene or a shot or a sequence that you've written for your film or you've conceived for your film that was perhaps inspired in some way or the other?
Let me confess something really tragic to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, in my growing up years,
Mm.
I used to hear so much about Ramsay Brothers. And I used to want to see their films, but I was too young and they were adult films.
Mm-hmm.
So would you believe if I told you that I haven't seen any of their films?
You what?
I
Wouldn't believe.
I haven't seen a single Ramsay brother film.
Okay.
And it's just because in my growing up years,
Mhm.
they were really popular and I was not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
And then in those days, we did not have satellite where you could watch them again, or we did not have, I'm sure there were VHS copies and all that, but I never got around to see them.
Mm-hmm.
But, anyone who's made a brand of himself or of themselves should be respected.
Absolutely.
We are very quick to ridicule. We are very quick. But they have been an institution and they have regaled and enthralled a large group of audiences.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for that, we should be thankful and grateful.
There are certain elements which kind of induce the horror factor even more. For instance, the usage of sound, the usage of location, everything. What exactly do you make out of your mise en scene from the films and the kind of writing that you have?
I try to make it different. So Haunted has a different mise en scene than 1920, which has a different one from Raz. So Raz is necessarily about a love triangle or a love caught in this supernatural space. All the 1920 films were necessarily about possession.
Yes, absolutely.
Haunted, of course, is been just one. So Ghost is now on a true story.
Yeah.
And God willing, should Ghost be successful, and when it is successful, I would like to make two also on a true story.
Okay.
So this is a franchise that I would want it to be based on true stories.
The film is based on a particular case, and I was even speaking to Sanaya and Mr. Bhargav for that matter. And what all did you perhaps delve into while culling out the characters? It's not based. The film is not based exactly on that incident. It's fictitious. So, what were your main catch points for that matter?
So actually, because the case was about someone who was accused of murder, and then in the trial it came out that he hasn't murdered, but it's a spirit that's done it. I think that entire plot is what Ghost is based on.
Mm-hmm.
That if one fine day you realize that you've been accused of murder and you know for certain that it's not you who's done it, but it's been a supernatural event, how are you going to prove it in court?
Absolutely.
And that dichotomy, that dilemma, is what got us going.
Why do you think that as compared to the West, India is naturally as good in culling out stories that have to deal with the supernatural, and the fact that Rajkumar Rao's Stree has kind of done good numbers. Do you, in a way, think that putting in the comic element would perhaps make or drive the engagement even more?
We really can't say how good or bad we are at horror because Ramu has also not had stopped doing it
Yes,
for a
absolutely.
while, and I seem to be the only one doing it for the better of the worse, I am the one you've got,
Mm-hmm.
and I try my best to hone my skills and write better.
Mm-hmm.
We are a different art form. We do see. We are not a society. We are not an audience that would like a slasher film.
Yeah.
We need emotions. We look at films from emotions. Indians are very emotional people.
Yeah.
And that is the reason why I put in emotions. And every film has to be culturally specific. American horror films are American specific. Our films are our culture specific.
Mm-hmm.
And there might be some pseudo intellectuals who might think that we should be American specific. But there's a large audience there that watches my films and loves them.
Yeah, absolutely. Your films have some tremendous music. I mean, I remember I was in class 8 or class 9 when Raz released. What are your parameters, and how do you, I mean, what is the kind of brief that you give your music directors, your lyricists, while they are actually writing for the particular scene or whatever?
I don't know, it's a dynamic process.
Mm-hmm.
It comes through the script, basically. It comes through the want of the character. There's also a need for the screenplay to keep moving and not stopping during the song.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to tell a story through the song, and your lyrics writer for those 4 minutes, 5 minutes becomes your storyteller, and so does your music director.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a dynamic process. It's not that I tell them something per se.
I mean, you have made some phenomenal films, but at the same time, there are certain films from your kitty which have not really done well with the box office. How do you take failures, and how much importance does the box office numbers hold for you?
I mean, box office numbers are important, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what success or failure is. But I have a different way of looking at it. I think, you either succeed or you learn.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing like failure.
Okay.
So when you fail, it's your audience telling you, hey, this is not a good story. We like the other one more. This is not good. It's not a personal thing. And we are a very failure-averse society.
Yes.
If anyone fails, we say, oh, that's the end of it all. It's not really. You can always think of a better story and do it again.
Mm-hmm. So with that, we come to the end of this lovely and intellectual conversation, even though you might say it's not intellectual, it is. And my name is Sandeep with Hindustan Times Online, Desimartini. Thank you so much.